mic on your left. Yes.
Open up just like a little bit like. All right. Whew, good afternoon. Good afternoon. We're bringing the sun back out, y'all. Y'all have brought the sunshine with you all, beautiful people in this space today. My name is Asila Rashid, and I am the program director of the Inner City Muslim Action Network here in Atlanta, Georgia. And I come to you today also as co-chair of this thing that we have called Era of Woman. Now, I don't want to get too far into it right now because this is one of those things that we can show you better than I can tell you, but also you will hear more about Era of Woman when one of our other co-chairs come up and talks about it today. But one of the things that we are doing here, and the thing that we are doing here on this, look at this, the sun is literally coming out and shining on this. Isn't God good? Isn't God amazing? So this is what we are calling a Mother's Prayer Rally. And so many of you all may be like, okay, that's an interesting name and title for a rally, you know? And really, we titled this a Mother's Prayer Rally because for any of you all who, I would say, especially have grown up in the South, we know a thing or two about the power within a mother's prayer, a power that comes within our ancestors' prayers. Many of us know that we are standing here today and sitting here today in our health and thriving, alhamdulillah, in this pandemic, due to the prayers set forth by our ancestors and those that have come before us. So we wanted to bring in and welcome in that energy, welcome in that power, that tool, that powerful tool of resistance, but that powerful tool of life-giving that comes by way of the prayer, and particularly from those of our mothers. Because our mothers, I don't want to get too far into it because we've got a whole speaker that's going to talk about that, but our mothers birthed a nation. Our mothers birthed this earth. And so when we are in the times in which that we are in right now, as racial issues have come to the forefront, our health issues have come to the forefront, and so many economical issues, community issues have come to the forefront where we are all in a place where we are looking to see how we can, one, come to the aid of our communities, and particularly our African American communities, how we can bring back this thing of family and building with our husbands, wives, children. That this is what and where we are starting with this rallying call today is that return to, one, turning inward to God and that inner nature in which that we all been created with, that inner nature in which to come to the aid of those who are in need, our nurturing sensibilities, our nurturing sensitivities, those in which that come by way of those who possess the wounds. You know, so I'm going to stop here before I go too far because we got a dynamic lineup of amazing, powerful women in leadership that are coming to speak at this podium today for this Mother's Prayer Rally. And so at this time, I want to first invite up, we have particular women, clergy women, who are going to open us up in an interfaith prayer representing their particular faith traditions. So I will first start with Sister Shahida Sharif, representing the Atlanta Masjid of Al-Islam. She is a scholar, a teacher, a mother. She's also president of Sisters United in Human Services. Sister Shahida Sharif.
With the name of God, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, I greet you all with the greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum. We begin with the name of Allah, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, creator of the heavens and the earth. We ask that Allah blesses this space and this initiative, that He blesses and honors and uplifts the individuals and the collective work that has brought us together here today to respond to the call and the great need to preserve, protect, and advance the human family in a morally and upright way. And we thank Allah for the sun that is shining down upon us because it was trying to rain, alhamdulillah. But we need a little watering from now and again. So may Allah give us the moral courage to shift this atmosphere and our current circumstances with our hands, to speak out against the injustices with our words, and to shift our hearts from just hating an evil act, but working hard against it. And may Allah bless us to have everything in our capacity that we have, our resources and our tools to do something about it, so that we're not just hating it in our hearts, but we're pushing and striving to not just speak out against it, but to do something about it. Ameen. Assalamu alaikum.
Next, I invite up Rabbi Lydia Medwin from the temple.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lydia Medwin. I'm a rabbi at the temple here in Midtown and co-convener of the Multi-Faith Initiative to End Mass Incarceration in connection with Ebenezer Baptist Church and so many of my partners here at IMAN, and it's an honor to get to speak with all of you today. At 99 years old, my many greats grandmother, Sarah, laughed at the news that she was pregnant, at first in dismay and disbelief, and then she laughed her son Isaac into the world with so much joy. I know that journey, as my husband and I struggled to get pregnant and then stood with a family of 5 just 4 years later. Sarah's laughter is my laughter when my kids do silly dances and make funny faces. When my great, few less greats, grandmother Naomi lost her husband and her 2 sons, she despaired in the way that only mothers who've lost children can know. But her loyal and loving daughter-in-law did not abandon her. She stayed by her side, giving her life and meaning and purpose again, eventually helping Ruth raise a child, the grandchild she thought she'd lost forever, a boy who himself would one day become the grandfather of King David. When my mother left her own home and took on the faith and history and burden and joy of her husband's religion, it shaped my life and the life of my mother's grandchildren forever. Her bravery to step out of her comfort zone and take on something new is now in my blood. Her stories are my stories, and I follow her calling whenever I take on that power for myself. And when my great-great-grandmother, Helen Wieder, immigrated from Budapest to America in 1883, she was only 17. She came across on a boat. It took a long time, and she was very ill the whole way. But then she saw the Statue of Liberty, and she felt like she could finally live with freedom from pogroms and violence. And her ability to withstand hardship has been handed down to me as an inheritance and a promise that I can do hard things, that I can resist, that I can give impossible sacrifices, and that I can rebuild again. We who are mothers, those of us who have birthed babies, and those of us who mother and care for others, understand where we come from. We have special access to creation itself, to the powers handed down the generations. So I want to invite you now to, if you've come here with a child, grab that baby, hold their hand for a second. And if you have a neighbor sitting next to you, just if you want to reach across and put a hand on somebody's shoulder, I want you to feel the generations of strength and power and resilience that comes from the kinds of shoulders that we, who are children of some mother somewhere, stand on. And I want to invite in God's blessing right now. You who are unbounded in love, God. You who are an exemplary of what it means to mother her child. For as we touch the hands of the people around us, we help each other see not only the struggles and pain that our ancestors endured, but also the incredible gifts of resilience that they've given us. And so, God, we pray in your name, Harachaman, the merciful one, which at its core also holds the word rachem, which means womb. Is that true also in Arabic? The womb, which is safety and warmth and growth and possibility. You, Holy One, give us these things as well. And we pray that we can pass on these notions of safety and warmth and growth and possibility to all of those that we hold now and to all future generations that come after us. In the many names in which you are known, including Rachamim, the womb, the mother, we pray and we say together, Amen.
Woo, I knew it was going to happen today. The chills are already starting. They're coming. Thank you, Rabbi Lydia, already. I will next call to the podium. We have Carol Maddox, who is the Archdeacon of the Episcopal Church of Atlanta, of the Archdiocese of the Episcopal Church of Atlanta. She is also the Executive Director of the Interfaith Public Policy Center. Carol Maddox.
So I'm a mom, twice over, a grandma now, twice over, yay. I know, that's the sweet dessert. And I have to say that before I became a mother, and I didn't know my power. But when I looked into each of those tiny faces, either the day they were born or the first time I met them, like with my grandchildren, I discovered I had a strength and a power and a determination that I never knew I had. And that is why I think we celebrate the strength and power of mothers. Talk to this one? Okay, can you hear me now? It's off. Shall I wait? Yeah, no problem. We good now? No? No? I feel like I should sing. How about this? No. How about this? No. Funny y'all can hear me say, how about this? All right? No, no. Well, this gives me a chance to get out my notes. Anything now?
Test, test, test. Test, 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 test.
Oh, that's a little bit.
Yeah. Test, 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 test.
There we go. Yay! That's okay. Thanks to the guys, right? I can provide strength and courage and resilience, but I can't do technology. So I'm happy and honored to be a part of a group that's celebrating that strength, that courage, and that resilience. And I bring to you two prayers. One I just have to share because I love it. It was actually written by the Reverend Yolanda Norton, who's at Grace Cathedral in San Francisco. And it's a womanist version of the Our Father. Let us pray. Our Mother, who is in heaven and within us, we call upon your names. Your wisdom come. Your will be done in all the spaces in which you dwell. Give us each day sustenance and perseverance. Remind us of our limits as we give grace to the limits of others. Separate us from the temptation of empire and deliver us into community. For you are the dwelling place within us, the empowerment around us, and the celebration among us, now and forever. Amen. And now, Almighty Creator, God of Hagar, Hannah, Elizabeth, and Mary, we gather together today to celebrate and envision your beloved community. A community where, inspired by love for you and for each other, all are cared for, all are loved, all are filled and free. We ask for your strength and guidance as we work together to end injustice, poverty, pain, and the mass incarceration of your people. Bless our work together, bind our spirits to each other, that we may achieve your beloved community in this life and rest with you in the life to come. Amen.
All right, I'm going to proceed. Okay, I'll give y'all.
Microphone check, mic check, mic check, mic check. 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. That's the first one. This is not plugged in. Mic check, mic check, mic check. There you go. Hello, 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 hello. Is it? Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me? Sound good? Good.
All right, we'll proceed. What about it? What about move it back? All right. I'm like, we got a space full of praying people, so let's pray for these technical issues that we get on through it, okay? Send one up for us. All right, so we're going to keep this program rolling. We will be concluding, when we conclude our rally, we will conclude with our salat. That is one of our 5 daily prayers within the Islamic faith. So we'll be concluding with Dua Salat. So I see some people may start getting a little antsy when it comes in, but we're still good. It will still be in by the conclusion of the rally. Okay, so at this time I would like to call up a powerful woman, a leader in this community, and legacy in this community. This is her district we are in right now. I would like to invite up to the podium Councilwoman Andrea Boone.
Good afternoon. I am Andrea Boone, a member of the Atlanta City Council, and there was no place in Atlanta, Georgia, more important today than being right here. There was no other place. I would like to first thank you all so much for locating right here on Martin Luther King Jr. Drive. You all have transformed this parcel of land. And we are looking so forward to you all moving from parcel to parcel, making a difference not only in the physical building here, but in the lives that you all transform. And I am so happy to be here on behalf of myself and the Honorable Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. I would like to thank our director, Mansour Sabri. Thank you so much for everything that you are doing to lead us right here. Our era of women coordinators, Asila Rashid, Tiffany Green Abdullah, and none other than my friend of more than 20 years, Mr. Arthur Majid. We have some great stories that we could tell, and we must tell them because he is truly a success story right here in Atlanta, a family man, a community man. Transforming this parcel of land has been one of the highlights here in the city of Atlanta. And I wish and I hope that we can tell the story of how this abandoned parcel has been transformed right here. Nobody thought that it would be able to look like this. How many years has it been? How many years has it been since you all came to City Hall and said, we want you to come by and look at this, and we're going to transform lives. We're going to help people. We're going to shape this parcel. And to our wonderful artists, because when you drive by, where's our wonderful artist of today? Kelly, thank you on behalf of the entire city of Atlanta. And we have other women leaders. Today is about the era of the woman leader. Our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunts, our sisters, our god sisters, and those that aren't even our blood relatives that we are connected to just like family. So on behalf of the city of Atlanta, thank you, thank you, thank you. And not only thank you, but just for including the city of Atlanta. And I must remember to tell everybody it's important that we get out and we vote. We vote on Tuesday. So I want everyone that needs to ride to the poll, let someone know. Let's vote, let's vote, let's vote, and let's continue the wonderful, wonderful work right here in the city of Atlanta. Thank you. So my friend was here, he had a mask on, and our families have been connected. Pleeman Alameen, just step up. Just say hello to us. You had a mask on, but I was at your family's house last week. And thank you for taking that mask off. And I love you. I love your family. You are a true legend. And on behalf of not only the city, but my father, the late Reverend Joseph E. Boone, thank you, and we love you. And just, we love you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you again, Andrea Boone. So I hope you all are feeling it and feeling the spirit and feeling this time that we are in as we are bringing forth Era of Woman, which you're going to hear all about in just a moment. But our next person that I'm bringing up to the podium is a sister in which, as we were just really starting, and we still are very much just starting this movement, really we're calling it, of creating this network of women leadership, particularly women of faith, to come, as we're seeing it, answering a call to show up for our community, particularly the African American community, to preserve, protect, to restore, and to advance it. This sister joined us early on when we did a webinar, just kind of introducing this thing of Era of Woman. And she joined us shortly thereafter when we were asking, you know, any women, any sisters who would like to get involved as a part of planning in this work. And she came and she joined our meeting. This was about maybe five months ago, and jumped right on in. And we're happy to have her. And she has written an original poem entitled A Mother's Prayer, which you will find on the back of, we have Era of Woman shirts for some of us today, and our speakers have them as well, but it is printed on the back of the shirt. But she is going to come and she's going to recite this poem for you all live. So I would like to call up now Sister Amita Abdullah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The name of my poem is The Power of a Mother's Prayer, an invitation. Mothers seem to represent God's mercy here upon this earth. The traits true mothers possess are only a fraction of their worth. They advocate for truth and justice as society's moral conscience. They lift society up when they step into their role of feminine guidance. Throughout the ages, we see many examples of strong prayers that elicit God's response, demonstrating how much he truly cares. When Hajar was left alone in the desert with her only son, the Creator answered her prayer with a well to claim as her very own. When Moses' mother sent him downstream in the basket, God knew her prayer for his safety before she could even ask for it. Mother Mary feared abasement when she submitted to God's will, yet the Creator cleared her reputation and elevates her position still. As women, we must follow suit and submit our will to the Master. This world and its inequalities appear to be headed for a real disaster. We must implement what is known as motherhood leadership as we fulfill our God-given role in a righteous interfaith fellowship. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sister Amita. Okay, so we're moving to this portion of the rally in which that we can't really talk about where we're going, as they say, unless we know where we come from. And what is the story of us? What is the story of our past? What is our history? And who is this creation called woman? You know, what has the Creator created her for and to do? So at this time, I'm calling up our sister Shahida Sharif. She will talk to us about the woman, the womb of the mind. Yes, in divine order. Shahida Sharif.
Alhamdulillah. The praise belongs to God. So I'm going to keep it brief. But we'll have more classes here in a few weeks. I'm just kidding. I am grateful to be here, and I thank Allah the Most High for the mercy given to us to be able to gather here today, inshallah, and for the express purpose of prayer, and for gathering for the purpose of work, right, and action. That goes hand in hand, faith and action. So I begin again with the name of Allah, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer. We're living in a very unique time. It's a good time to be alive and to be aware of who we are, our roles and our work in this society, not only as a woman, but as a man and as the human family. I'm going to go back a little bit, just in my personal history, to a couple of years before I was born, before entering the womb of my mother. A seed was planted in her. She was in the womb of a religious movement and organization that was shifting from a nationalistic view of who we were as African Americans in this United States of America into a universal worldview and perspective of how we see ourselves in this continuous line of the human family. And how do we connect to our God-given role in this world? At that time, in 1975, the leader of this community, Imam Warsadin Muhammad, may God have mercy and peace upon him, he taught a specific concept and he expounded upon it over the years. He said that man means mind and woman means the womb of mind. He said man means mind and woman means the womb of mind. So this was the seed planted decades ago for my parents in the womb of the nation that they were building. And what did he mean by that? Was it just the physical human flesh that this precious soul was placed in, breathed in by God? Because we are above the animal nature and we are endowed with the capacity of human intellect, intelligence, with a moral construct. So from this womb of mine, we are to extract that we are the first teachers. We are the first to offer the society how to be civilized, how to engage. So those first words when they're saying mama and dada, right? We want it to be ones of love, of compassion, of empathy, of humility. And so those hugs we give, that nurture versus nature, right? These are the things that we are inclined to as human beings. So why is this important? To understand how are we to advance the human family, to have progress on this earth as we strive to serve the Creator. We have to know our inherent purpose and be absolutely clear and confident in what that is. As was mentioned earlier, the attribute of God, Ar-Rahman, in the Arabic language, it means one who is merciful, one who bestows mercy, and it also means giving mercy where you're not looking for anything in return. Isn't that what a parent does? They give love, they give mercy, they nurture you, and they don't expect you to do anything but just be the baby and receive the love. And that's what God does. That's what the Creator does for us. Not seeking anything in return, not offering forgiveness with a penalty, right? Well, some of us parents do that, but that's when we have been consumed with an artificial lifestyle, right? We have artificial language, artificial lifestyle, artificial ways of feeding and nourishing our children that's really not healthy for them. So we have to get back and revisit the natural womb that we all came from, that we were intended for. Getting back to the root of that mercy. One of the first mercies that God gave mankind and humanity was to have a moral, ethical perspective of intellect. So not just to be rationalizing and thinking because I know from a place of arrogance, but from a place of humility, because my intellect is to inform my faith so I can serve the Creator and I can serve humanity. Now, a majority of the work of women, as we've seen, is often unseen. Just like the seed being planted in the ground, in the fertilized soil, we don't see the inner workings that's going on underneath. Or in the womb of the mother, we cannot see it unless light is shined through the ultrasound, right? That's the only time we just feel the movement going on inside of us. When we eat and nourish ourselves, we know our baby is benefiting. When we give to our families and give to our communities, it's not to be seen. It's not to be applauded, right? It's because this is the love that's needed to cultivate society, to cultivate humanity. And we're preparing them in our households to go out and be civilized, constructive contributors, right? Not to be shot down in the street, not to be violated, but to be uplifted and to be honored. So that means we have to activate, or I should say reactivate, the muscles of mercy, the muscles of our moralized intellect, and the principles to treat each other how we want to be treated. And this is where it starts. Having the difficult conversations, coming together with sincere hearts to really feed our souls. The catchphrase nowadays is self-care. I say we need soul care. Self-care can become a little selfish after a while. So we need to not only feed ourselves, but feed our souls so that we're able to pour into one another and address the conditions that we're currently facing. So many are awakening and sobering up to realize that we cannot rely upon this artificial lifestyle anymore because it is corrupting our families. Imam Muhammad once said, it is time for us to wake up and come out of this false artificial world that forms you as an artificial human being, because you're living in a world of lies and a false mentality. So we have to be willing to abort those elements from our womb and healing spaces that have distorted who we are and pitted us against one another, even within our own families. They've pitted the children against the parents, the husbands against the wives, right? And this is why we begin with prayer. The formula that we need in order to preserve and protect our families is to have faith in God, to pray and to act upon those prayers. So yes, they may have taken prayer out of schools, but they haven't taken prayer out of the temples, the mosques, the masjids, right? The spaces we create, our homes. If prayer is not happening in our homes, then we need to reestablish it. You can start today. And when God says in the Quran that we created you in the best of molds, what is he telling us? That you don't have to operate from a place of lack. You don't have to say, because I'm a woman, because I'm African American, because I was born here, because this happened to my people. No, we created you in the best of molds. Right. We are not to abase our own selves. So you don't have to wonder who you are. You don't have to wonder why you are here and what your role and your work is here on this earth. When we move with faith, when we move with prayer and we act upon it, we will become more confident, more convicted, and more clear in how we are to heal the wounds that have been traumatized. We will be able to see that we are all connected to Adam and his mate, that we are connected to Abraham and his mates, that we are connected to Isa, Jesus, Moses. We are all one human family. And that's what connects us to the oneness of God, because we are one human family. So let's continue to pray and have faith, use our moral intellect, and be clear together for a dignified solution. Muhammad the Prophet, prayers and peace be upon him, said, whoever sees an evil action, change it with your hand. Take action. If you cannot, then by your tongue, speak out against it. And if you cannot, then in your heart, meaning believe against it, hate it in your heart, and that is the weakest sign of faith. But eventually, that heart, that movement, when you're purifying it, is going to move you back to do something about it. So let's believe in that. Let's move towards that. Let's get behind these efforts, and let us be of those who are sincere in our action, sincere in our words, and sincere in our heart, and get to work. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
All right, y'all, we want to hear you. This is a rally now, too, so you can make some noise, because those were powerful words being spoken. I said she was evoked. I just said Sister Malcolm. I felt a little Malcolm energy coming in right there, too. So at this time, as we are still in this space of talking about our history, our past, and it's important for you all to know, as we did this as a mother's prayer rally, that was very intentional, because as we are seeing sometimes in some of the movements, even of today, it's as if we are slowly edging God out. But we know our history, and especially the histories of social justice movements, They all had a foundation, a base, most of those in the past, with being a religious base, a faith base when starting these out. So that is something that we are bringing back, hopefully, God willing. And at this time, to speak on the history of our movements, and particularly women leadership and elevating women leadership, we have Sister Aisha K. Mustafa, editor of the Muslim Journal, and she has drove up from Jackson, Mississippi today to be with us, a giant in this community, and we are grateful to have her. Sister Aisha.
Assalamu alaikum. Praise be to Allah. It is indeed an honor to be with you today, and I congratulate Iman. I congratulate the era of woman for your successes and for your hard work that's much needed in our communities. My history of the freedom movement is going to be a little bit different. Rather than do just a roll call of women's names who we know spearheaded and marshaled the movement forward. And some of those names have been called, especially those that are placed in scripture. And of course, always, I always go to Hagar, and I always remember, if Hagar did it, we can do it. And she did it for a son, an infant son, when she was left alone. And as Abraham was leaving her, she finally asked him, "Is this what your God tells you to do?" And he just says, "Yes." And she just says, "Well, your God will provide for me." And provide he did, although it wasn't in front of her at the time that was coming. As we know the story goes, Hagar ran out of provisions with the infant child. And as she began to look in the barren desert where she was left alone, there was nothing else there, looking for nourishment for her and her infant boy, she began to get excited, and she began to pick up her pace, and she began to run between the two small mounts, Safa and Marwa. And you can, Fahim Shuaib's daughter does a spectacular enactment of Hagar's run. I mean, you have to move the chairs and let the line be right there in the middle, and she literally does the Hagar run with all of the emotions that Hagar should have been expressing at that time. First, she's running lightly and looking for something for her child. And she doesn't find anything, so she runs in the opposite direction, and she's looking on that side. She doesn't find anything. So she picks up the pace a little bit, and she's running, and she's desperate, and she's more desperate, and she's more desperate until she's run 7 times, and she hasn't found anything. And then she resigns to her fate and the fate of her child. And as it is said by some, the heel of Ishmael, the baby, and his friend and crying hid in the sand, up came the water of Zamzam at his heel. And also some say it was the angel that came to Hagar and struck the ground with his wing, and up from the ground came the water of Zamzam that runs today. Abraham's wife, Hagar, was the mother of a well that still runs today and nourishes us. So if Hagar could do it and keep the faith, who are we to say that we are tired and going to give up? We haven't been compensated. Nobody appreciates us. Where's God? And all those years later, Hagar still talked about. And when you make Hajj, the rituals of Hajj, you run in the footsteps of Hagar. Man, woman, child, whoever's making Hajj, you follow in the footsteps of Hagar. So she's remembered. Allah has made it possible that she's remembered, and that she's also vindicated, because Hagar wasn't always seen in the best of light. You know, she was the troublemaker. It's all her fault. You know, she had to get put out the house with a bad boy. He was just a bad child. They had to be put out of the community and put out in the desert somewhere, because that's what they earned. So she's been vindicated in our eyes. And now we look at Hagar with reverence, and we look at her struggle as our struggle, and we look at her faith as our faith. And may Allah also bless us with an iota of remembrance that He has given Hagar. The history of the movement towards freedom. This movement began with the very beginning of the March of Times. And in that March of Times, the marker for us, that is the shift in the movement towards freedom, that is our signature movement, is perpetually linked to an act of violence. It is linked to the violent movement of Africans ripped from their motherland, again, their motherland, Africa, in the transatlantic slave trade. Those Africans were carried on the currents of the Atlantic Ocean, those same currents that flow today and carry great storms across the Atlantic Ocean. Those same currents flow today. In this movement, this original movement out of our motherland, Africa, crossed the currents of the Atlantic Ocean, and we found ourselves going into another womb other than our mothers. Our wombs, which are many that are referenced in the Quran, have produced great leaders, and great women are remembered for them. But there are also other things in nature that we point to that remind us in the growth of life of who we are, what we represent, and the difficulties that we have to overcome in the process. We look at the plant life, and of course the one that stands out for us as symbolic most of all is the tree. And the inner rings of the tree represents the history of that growth. And so too we can note that we have the inner rings of 400 years of growing out of slavery. We have clocked into our genes and our genetic memory the history of this movement. It is recorded like the inner tree rings that clock good years and hard years and lean years. And if I should stop and let everybody get out the rain, let me know, okay? When we were starved of nurturing years when we were well fed. Each year for the tree, new cells are formed and arranged in concentric circles of annual growth rings that show the amount of wood produced during that growing season. The rings tell the age of the tree. If the rings are close together, it means that particular year had bad conditions and hard times. Weather conditions such as floods and droughts can stunt a tree's growth and causes for a growing season. Yet we are still growing, we as a people represented by the tree. So we have managed to adapt. And in our adaptation, it means that we have evolved. We've grown outward and upward. And when you cut inside the tree and it reveals the patterns of the inner rings, there is also a beauty that is expressed and shown in that very nature of ebb and flow of good years and bad years. The circular motion, the inner and the outer, the development of these patterns indeed represent beauty and growth. Not only are we the branches from the movement of a people from their motherland, planted into the agonies in this womb we call slavery. We were not properly nourished at that time. All of our existence was circumstantial, depending on another people. but yet we were planted firmly. And the root system took root again. And if you study the tree, it says that the tree's roots spread out 5 times the radius of the canopy of the tree. The root system underneath the ground is 5 times as wide as the top of the tree that you see above the earth. It grows further down in dry season. Under the best conditions, the roots grow toward vertically more than 20 feet. In some images, the root system mimics the structure above the earth. The tree recorded with the deepest roots can grow up to 230 feet. It is called the shepherd's tree that is found in the Kalahari Desert on the motherland. And this tree grows in an area that is calculated as 350,000 square miles of nothing but desert. It is said when the wind blows against the tree, it naturally causes the root system to kick in and respond by growing deeper into the soil so that it can gain more support. So you can imagine how people kicked in and our roots grew deeper and we grew firmer and stronger when the winds of struggle blew against us. This is the legacy of our freedom movement, started the day we were captured and loaded onto ships. So we reverence the wounds that bore us, and in the Quran, in essence, the beginning of life is explained, and the word that is used for wounds that bore us is indeed in the feminine of the Arabic word. Surah 4, An-Nisa, verse 1, O mankind, be careful of your duty to your Lord, who created you from a single soul, and from it created its mate, and from them twain has spread abroad a multitude of men and women. Be careful of your duty towards Allah, in whom ye claim your rights of one another, and toward the wounds that bore you. In Surah 94, verses 5 and 6 also, Allah reminds us that surely with difficulty comes the ease. And it's repeated, surely with difficulty comes the ease. And as those who have studied Imam W.D. Muhammad's commentary, he tells us, as soon as the difficulty starts, so starts the ease. We are not to just lament, as it has been said, about our misfortune, our struggles, our hard times, but we are to use them to strengthen ourselves, to let our roots grow deeper, to let the inner rings ebb and flow as they will, for it all adds to our beauty. We know the roll call of our heroes like Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Fannie Lou Hamer, Rosa Parks, Clara Muhammad, Mamie Till Mosley, and yes, Maya Angelou. And we also want to remember George Floyd's mother, Lacinia Floyd, best known as Miss Sissy. George was her oldest child of her 5 children. She raised her 5 children as well as her grandchildren and sometimes some of the neighborhood's children. She was an advocate for their home and for their community. And yes, we are still into our growing pains when Mamie Till Mosley had to bury her son, Emmett Till. We thought we had seen the worst experience, although Emmett was not the first son or the brother or the father to be murdered. It might have gotten by us that the state of Georgia's Congressman John Lewis championed the passing of a bill through Congress, and the name of the bill is the Emmett Till Unresolved Murders Act of 2008. Why was it important? It is important because it created a registry that contains the names of 78 men and women of color who died between 1952 and 1968 under circumstances of suspicion, and all were violent deaths. Those names have been gathered by the Southern Poverty Law Center as a timeline of killings for the Civil Rights Memorial that was dedicated in 1989. along with those 78 names, are 40 names of civil rights martyrs. The 74 unknown persons until this time are called the forgotten. So we say to the wives who buried their husbands, those like Coretta Scott King, Myrlie Evers, and Betty Shabazz, we embrace you as we embrace each other. We call the names of Emmett Till and George Floyd and all those sons and brothers and husbands and fathers and grandfathers too numerous for this address. And we acknowledge their mothers and their wives and their daughters and their granddaughters and their grandmothers. But now we remember them afresh, just in the name of George Floyd. And for certain, George Floyd brings us back to our origin, his blackness, his undeniable African features, his love for his mother, that she was the last words that left his lips. And as he cried and as his mother had passed 2 years before him, we who are here, who are present, stand up on her behalf and say, we hear your special, recognizable cry as a mother intuitively hears the cry of her child and responds. As those names have been recorded by the works of Congressman John Lewis, we have to remember that there is no statute of limitation on murder. Diane Nash, now in her 70 years plus, when she was 20-something years old and a student at Fisk University, she and other Fisk students headed out for Alabama to test the integration of waiting rooms on the bus route. When she got on the bus, again, at her 20-something years old, all of the students that got on the bus with her handed to her, their last will and testament. Diane Nash told anyone who asked her, why are you bringing them here? You all are going to get killed. And her response was, all of the people on this bus has already written their last will and testament. Remember, these are 20-something. And now in her reclining years, Diane Nash, when she's asked, what next should we do? And she replied, remember, always remember, there's no statute of limitation on murder. Let us set the record straight. So we watch George, and we see that he's gotten justice for now. Emmett did not get justice. Emmett Till's body has been exhumed and re-examined by the FBI, but still no one has been brought to justice for the murder of Emmett Till. I'm going to close now so that we can have our other speaker before the rain completely comes. But please look up. You can Google it. It's easy to find. The Emmett Till Unresolved Murders Act of 2008. Assalamu alaikum.
All right, let's keep it on going. Woo! Get these mics out the rain. All righty. How y'all feeling? How y'all feeling? Right, it's raining, but we know that that is the Creator's way of nourishing this land, you know? So we're going to let God do exactly the work that needs to be done. And we got other work in which that we are doing as well for the Creator. So in keeping this going, the next person is near and dear to me. And that is my own mama, Sister Okolo Rashid, coming from the International Museum of Muslim Cultures, all the way from Jackson, Mississippi as well. She is a freedom fighter and just an all-around, she hates when I say this, bad A. But I wouldn't be your little daughter if I didn't do that intro. but she is a leader and a trailblazer as well. So Sister Okolo Rashid, she is going to talk about now a new project, and in bringing together what we just heard about our movements, our previous movements, but really in talking about them as one freedom movement.
Okay, I'm trying to check my time here. Assalamu alaikum. With God's name, the merciful benefactor, the merciful redeemer, I greet you in the greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum. You saw me come up here without socks, slides on. Know that I have shoes. I had on shoes, but being a Mississippi woman, I came outside of the hotel and I said, okay, this feels okay. So I went back and pulled off my shoes and put on my slides again. So if you hear me shivering up here, it's because of my Mississippi sassiness, I guess you might think. Okay, so rethinking the civil rights and African American Muslim movements as parallel movements of one freedom struggle in America. Why does this matter? Well, I think my personal story might help to answer that question. I was born in a sharecropping family of 12 siblings, and my most vivid memory from a young child of 5 years old was my father's daring escape from the plantation-like Mississippi Delta. Those early days of racial oppression and denial of opportunity were damaging. Yet what I found most destructive was the educational deficit I experienced having to work during the harvest period, and thus we could only go to school for a half a day, right? Half a year. What I found as a fourth grader, after my mom moved us to the city, she's now a single parent with 7 children, was that I could barely read. But what I found as a fourth grader was that my life would be a series of discoveries, right? And that was one of those discoveries, that I could barely read, right? Coming from a home that had no books in the home. Yet, the first day of the 4th grade until the 12th grade, I came to school each and every day. I never missed a day. My mom was at work. She wasn't forcing me to do that, but for some reason I was moved to do that. And I graduated with honors. So there were a number of successes that came as a result of that. I guess I felt that I had the courage and I had the intuition that I could compete with Anglo-Saxons, or some people say white people, right? So I was among that handful of African Americans that integrated our community college system. This sparked 45 years of activism, organizing, including me and my husband's work in civil rights, to human rights, to African American nationalism or African nationalism, to embracing Islam in 1976, to co-founding America's first museum in 2001 with a Palestinian American family. Yet my most important discovery was about 20 years ago, when I came to understand that spark within, which drove me in the 4th grade and throughout my life. There is an inner dignity in Islam called fitra. It is that inner nature that is already programmed for excellence. One's belief in one's ability to achieve what one sets out to do. Thus, this affirmed for me the power of education, and it is at the core of what motivates me in this work. So, I've tied this concept to this idea of nurturing the inner dignity within individuals to unleash their human potential. For Muslims, the term dignity means inherent nobility, honor, worth, that born sense of leadership and self-guidance. As you connect to the Creator, this becomes self-evident. Dignity in Islam is tied directly to freedom. Freedom of religion or conscience, but it's really about independence and self-determination. My personal journey to Islam and my discovery of freedom through cultivating a sense of inner dignity and self-determination, from my perspective, represents the Muslim African American's path and purpose-driven movement to freedom, justice, and equality in America. Further, I assert that this is a parallel movement to the civil rights movement. So why is this important? To connect the civil rights and African American Muslim movements as one freedom struggle in America. The importance is clearly expressed in our Declaration of Independence. In the first paragraph, it says, the founding fathers, talking about the importance of one people assuming among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitled them. So, in essence, our Declaration of Independence is establishing that intersectionality of religion and the struggle for freedom of a people. But it's not just about the struggle of freedom for a people, but it's also about freedom and that inner dignity and that self-determination that has to be connected to the Creator. So, how are we going to get individuals in the African American community, as a people, but all of America, all of the globe, to really connect to this idea of nurturing the inner dignity and self-determination? In human life, if you lose what it means to be human, that inner dignity, future loss. You are not going to navigate your way through to become this excellent human being that God created. Let us reflect on the current situation that Aisha spoke quite eloquently about. George Floyd's televised gruesome murder shocked the sensibilities and awakened the conscience of individuals in America and across the globe, signaling something deep within the human soul, profoundly stirred the human spirit. Suddenly, we are reminded of Dr. King's warning in reference to the disease within the American spirit, where the dignity of individuals and people is subverted under a system of racism. We call it human hierarchy, extreme materialism, and militarism. Dr. King in 1967 saw the solution as we as Americans, our ability to undergo a radical revolution of values and a profound restructuring of society. He affirmed that a genuine revolution of values mean in the final analysis that our loyalties become ecumenical and interreligious. Every nation now must develop and overriding loyalty to mankind as a whole. This calls for a worldwide fellowship that lifts neighborly concerns beyond one's race, class, and national borders to an all-embracing and unconditional love of all mankind. He says, I am speaking of the force of love, which all of the great religions, he lists them, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Jews, Buddhists, and others, have seen as a supreme unifying force, a principle in life. Here, it is our perspective that Dr. King really is reframing philosophically and social politically the civil rights movement thought, the philosophical and social political thought within the civil rights movement. So in doing that, thus he is able to, in fact, create a new social, religious-based social justice model we're putting forth. That out of that shift that Dr. King made, he really created a new thought within the civil rights movement, really moving it from just civil rights to human rights. But now, Dr. King's message went unheeded, and he was assassinated 1 year later, so we were really made void of his continuing leadership. How do we as a nation come to this? Our position is the key is understanding the intersectionality of religion and government, politics and policies, the laws of nature and nature's God. The challenge is understanding that human dignity is fundamental to combating injustice, intolerance, achieving racial equity, social justice, and healing. Imam Warsadin Muhammad, transformative leader of the African American Muslim movement and reformer of the Nation of Islam, he comes along 10 years after Dr. King in 1979, and he argues that the African American struggle for dignity and to dignify himself as a race had really not changed. It's still the struggle to measure up with other races in their human, social, cultural, political, and economic terms. But he contended that this struggle was usurped and undermined. He blamed infiltrators. He says corrupt elements from a corrupt society and a corrupt government. Now, he didn't name in his presentation the FBI COINTELPRO, which is short for Counterintelligence Program, a conspiracy program by our U.S. government to disrupt and to destroy the African American freedom struggle. According to their own records, before Dr. King came to national prominence, J. Edgar Hoover targeted the Nation of Islam and its leaders, Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm, as public enemy number one, with a plan for isolation and discrediting. It is our contention that we're still living in that plan. So Imam Muhammad, so what we put forth is a position and observation that Imam Warsadin Muhammad made. He says that there are two leaders that stand out as fighters who best represented the extreme poles of what we as African Americans wanted in this country. Inner dignity, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and the outer comfort, that is equal rights as citizens, Dr. King. One represented nationalism or separatism and self-determination, and the other civil rights or integration. But he says, but both men were really on the same case. They had inherited the works of their father, that enslaved ancestry that would not give up. Imam Muhammad further stated, but Almighty God has united those two spirits, that spirit of Dr. King and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, in me and his movement. He stated that he had come to recognize 20 years earlier that the two spirits needed to come together because they were spirits of one life force. They should be together. He contended, you can have all the resources you need, but if you don't have correct vision, there's no progress. Now, he says, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Dr. King, the civil rights movement and the movement to dignify the social preacher up from slavery has come together, and there's balanced vision in this leadership. Imam Muhammad further contended, God didn't fail us. God didn't leave us. He's been with us all the time. He never left us. We let our eyes close on the direction that had been pointed out to us in strong ancestral leadership, that of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Dr. King. Let's see what Malcolm had to say about the civil rights movement and the African American Muslim movement. Malcolm, in one of his last speech in 1965, January 7th, 1965, he was assassinated February 1965. His speech was called Prospects for Freedom. He stated, one of the main ingredients in the struggle of the black man in America has been the black Muslim movement. No one can deny the role that the black Muslim movement has played in the stepped up militancy on the part of black people throughout this country. No matter what direction the black Muslim movement itself was headed, no matter what its own organizational philosophy was, still it cannot be denied that that movement, because of its uncompromising stance and its uncompromisingly militant approach to things, forced the civil rights organizations and their leaders to become more militant. So militancy of the black man in America can be traced to the existence and the presence of the black Muslim movement. It's the black Muslim movement's contributions to the black struggle for freedom. And this country, it was militancy. So our project focuses on Dr. King's leadership as the most influential representative. But know that it's also inclusive of the movement itself, the civil rights movement. And although we're narrowing that focus, I want to make sure that we understand that a part of what we are doing in this project is that we're looking at women leadership as well. And Aisha talked about many of these women, Ella Baker, Anna Arnold Hedgeman, Rosa Parks, Fannie Lou Hamer, and many others. So that's one side of the coin. The other side of the coin is we're looking at the African American Muslim movement viewed through the lens of the Nation of Islam as a continuum to the transformative leadership of Imam Warsadin Muhammad. He became the leader by affirmation of the Nation of Islam representatives in 75 after the death of his father, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. This continuum, the way that we're looking at it, represents the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Sister Claire Evans Muhammad, his wife and the mother of Imam Muhammad, who were co-builders. You don't hear that a lot, but they were co-builders of the Nation of Islam, because it was Clara Muhammad that actually ran the Nation of Islam for about 10 years or so during the time that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was arrested because he refused to draft. So he was arrested. And so she has made major contributions. And so we're introducing and really trying to make sure that people understand that Sister Clara Muhammad made a significant contribution. And another contributions that she made is that she was really the pioneer of independent schools in this country. She started, as far as we know, one of the first independent schools in her home with her own children. She stood at the door when the police, that was illegal then, right? Homeschooling was illegal. And so when the police came to try to, encourage them to bring the children back or wanted to try to arrest her, she said, I would rather die than to send my children to the public school. So that's the kind of womanhood leadership that we're talking about. So I'm going to wrap up. The other leaders that we have in this continuum is Malcolm, Muhammad Ali. Can't talk a lot about Muhammad Ali because I don't have time. But it's really significant to know that he is recognized as the most recognized person across the globe, and his stance, in refusing the draft, and he won by standing on the principles of this idea of freedom of religion. Let me just close right here to say that our work in the museum, this is a new project, new research that we're doing, working with the African American Muslim community in particular, because it is our position that the African American Muslim community, there's not enough research, and so we're calling for people to do more research, because it represents really the most profound example of transformation, racial equity, social justice, and healing, really in the field. So I'm going to leave with that, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
All right, just a little housekeeping announcement for the two women that parked on the grass at the church. You need to move your car. If you parked on the grass at the church, please move your car. All right, let's hear it for Sister Okolo Rashid again. Powerful words being spoken today. So at this time, we're going to hear from an artist that I love, and I think most of you all will if you have not heard her, but doing a particular poem about having a son, in particular a black son, an African-American son that she's raising. And I believe this poem was written shortly after Laquan McDonald, that she wrote this. So at this time, I would like to call up Mrs. Latifa Ali. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be on to you all. Like she said, I wrote this poem a while ago. My son was 4 years old at the time, and when Laquan McDonald was shot, he actually spoke about that earlier. It hit me that I had a son. So I'm gonna try to do this poem without crying, right? So it hit me then, and it just came to me, and I wrote this poem, and I recorded myself doing this poem, and when I posted it on social media, I asked how long will my poem be relevant? And over the years, it has gone viral because it is still relevant. So I'll try to get through this, right? Okay. It's called I Have a Son. I have a son. He's 10 years old now. He's handsome and intellectual. He'll melt you with his smile. They say he'll be a heartbreaker, a charmer, a breath taker. He's such a sweet kid, a mama's boy for sure. My firstborn, my first son, his heart is so pure. When I drop him off or leave him anywhere, he requires a kiss and a hug. But it won't be long, not long at all, before someone labels him a thug. I have a black son. He'll be a teenager one day. And I feel like no matter how we raise him, no matter what we say, his presence will make someone nervous. His existence will pose a threat. The cops will be called on him,
for a crime he didn't commit. If he's anything like his mother, he won't shut his mouth. If he's anything like his father, he'll want to cuss somebody out. There's a funny thing about the innocent. They don't like being called guilty. But we live in a world where if you're a black male, you certainly will be. So we have to teach him now about the preservation of his life. He has to understand that when they're wrong, he'll have to prove himself right. But he might not get the chance. He may never get the opportunity to take a stance in the name of justice. His charming smile may not be enough for his words to be trusted. I have no idea how to tell him this. I feel like I can't let him play in parks. I'm too scared to let him walk home. He won't be allowed to go to corner stores or step foot into Walmart alone. I know I can't keep him sheltered. I know that God is his protector. I know that the things that I need to tell him will confuse him more than help him, like, don't make sudden moves, son. You gotta keep your hands up. Keep your hands out of your pockets. Don't lay down. Don't stand up. Don't talk back, but answer questions. You can't fight back or keep them guessing. Don't run. Don't walk. Don't turn. Don't talk. Don't look down. Don't look away. Just speak softly. It'll be okay. Tell them you're unarmed. Tell them you're not going to move. Tell them you're cooperating. Tell them you have nothing to prove. I'm not saying I want you to compromise yourself, your duties as a man. I'm just telling you that when this happens to you, I want to see you alive again. So close your eyes and say that prayer that I taught you over and over in your head. Just let them shoot. Just play dead. I have a black son. And this is what I have to think about day out, day in. I have to tell him, son, you can't hang out with your friends. You can't drive a car or get on a train. Because if you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, they will shoot you in your back or blow out your brains. I have a black son. He could be killed at 12, 18, 21. He could be murdered for no reason by anyone who has a gun. But maybe he'll survive it all. Maybe he'll make me a grandmother. Maybe the things I teach him will help protect his little brother. Maybe things will change soon. Maybe I'll never see in loving memory on his tomb. Maybe. Just maybe. But now I have 2 black sons. So please, don't let them kill my babies. Thank you.
Whew. And I have 3 sons. They're out here today, running around. Just so you know, we have programmed in a grounding ceremony, as we knew this program will have as much of the powerful energy it has from hearing from these powerful speakers, but we also have to make sure we're in charge of our care, our self-care, and being there for one another through these hard topics, these hard conversations, these hard things we have to speak about. And so we're at this point in the program, as we just heard our history, our past, and Mrs. Latifah just brought us into, unfortunately, our story of now. It's been past and is our story of now, and it's why we're doing what we're doing here today. So at this point, we're going to hear from my co-chair, sister in this movement of era of woman, to talk to you about why we started what we started and what this is that we're doing and planning to do and trying to keep doing. So at this time, Sister Tiffany Green Abdullah.
Assalamu alaikum. Whew. I knew it was going to be hard to go after Tifa. All right. So May 25th, 2020, George Floyd was murdered by the Minneapolis police officers. Everything that occurred afterwards, the protest, the conviction, would it have happened if not for the courageous action of Darnella Frazier, a 17-year-old African-American young woman who was just taking her little cousin to the store for snacks. Her film became a crucial evidence that convicted Derek Chauvin. She heard Mr. Floyd call out for his mother from just a few feet away, and she answered his call the next day when she released her video. I watched that unfortunate video soon after it was released because I lived in Minneapolis for 7 years before I moved to Atlanta. I learned community organizing working as the senior policy aide to the then Vice President of Minneapolis City Council, Robert Lilligren. That now notorious location was the center of my ward, or it's called, in Atlanta, it's called a district. When I heard his cry, when I heard the cry for his mother, my heart broke, my soul ached. I was enraged at the callousness of what happened next. The 9 minutes that Derek Chauvin kneeled on his neck, suffocating Mr. Floyd, was murder in cold blood. I understood why people took to the streets in protest. I understood the frustration and the feelings of defeat. I was sad for Minneapolis, for that community that I worked very hard in for many years to help mobilize. I was sad for Atlanta, for DC, for Jackson, Mississippi, for my hometown of Chicago, and for all the communities that have experienced the senseless murder of black bodies, whether at the hand of police or by our own hand. So I asked myself, what can I do? What should I do? And when Asila and I got together, we asked each other those same questions. What should we be doing right now? We saw the protests taking place, but we did not see ourselves as Muslim women, as African-American Muslim women represented. So in July 2020, July of last year, we convened a group of women, including her mother, Akola Rashid, as well as Savannah Willis, who was a young sister who had just begun working at the International Museum of Muslim Cultures, Aisha Mustafa, and many other sisters. And we started meeting. And we've been meeting every Sunday since July of 2020. And our network has expanded to other cities. We have sisters here from Memphis as well. So on those Sundays, we talk, we share, we laugh. Sometimes we disagree, but we love and we learn from one another. And over time, organically, Era of Woman was formed. We are a leadership network. We invite women leaders, mother leaders, formal and informal leaders to join us. Come as you are, bring what you have, because you are already enough. In the example of Khadija, mother of believers, we are the nurturers, we are the business leaders, we are the commanders, we are the cultivators of our community. Imam Warsadin Muhammad introduced the concept of motherhood leadership, and he said that it is to be a mother is to be a leader over life when it first comes. The woman is the first shaper of the human life and of the human society. He said in 1977, society is suffering right now, not because we don't have male leadership, but because we don't have mother leadership. We need a mother's voice to be heard in the society today. We want to hear mother sentiments, some mother concern. Then we want to see the strength And we want to see the strength of that strong sentiment that God formed in mothers by paying labor pains manifest in society. And he said that in 1977. What makes Era of Woman different and timely is our values. I would have pointed to our banners that were up here earlier, but you know, the weather and the wind. But it's on our website, eraofwoman.com. But we saw the movements, as I said, going on, but again, they didn't represent our Islamic values. And most important one that we really focused a lot on is our belief in marriage and family as foundational to the reconstruction of the human family with the African American family at the center. So what is our vision for Era of Woman? Our vision is to create a restored, thriving, self-actualized, self-determined African American community empowered and uplifted by African American woman leadership in partnership with African American men. We wouldn't have done none of this today without these men out here, y'all.
Yes, give it up.
Yes. So Malcolm X said in a 1963 Berkeley interview, and somebody else used this analogy earlier, when you put a seed in the soil, it remains beneath the soil until the atmospheric changes make the crop grow in the appointed time. Allah has brought about this appointed time for black people, and specifically black women, to stand up and heed the call of Imam Muhammad, Mr. Floyd, and Allah, for all mothers to bring our unique form of leadership to bear. Are you ready, sisters? Are you ready, sisters? All right, amen. Right, inshallah, right? Inshallah. That's what we say every Sunday, inshallah. Are you ready to lead? Then let's do this. So what is our work then? The mission of Era Woman is to amplify the voices and leadership of African American Muslim women working in partnership with other African American women for the advancement, preparation, protection, and preservation of the African American community through broad-based engagement. This, a Mother's Prayer Rally, is the beginning of that broad-based engagement. But what does advancement, preparation, protection, and preservation mean for us? Advancement is defined as the process of promoting a cause or plan, the promotion of a person in rank or status. So to advance, we must first educate ourselves and our community. We have to seek scholarly analysis with real-world implementation. We have to engage in candid conversations. We have to foster spiritual, moral, intellectual, economic, and political development. But even before that, we have to look back and unlearn and relearn what has already been done and solutions presented. Sisters Shahada, Okolo, and Aisha were brilliant and scholarly in the section Our History and Our Past. And we did that to reduce the possibility of making the same mistakes again so that we move our agenda forward. Preparation is defined as the action or progress of making ready or being made ready for use, or something done to get ready for an event or undertaking. We did many, many months of preparation for this event. We can't plan the weather, though. So what are we preparing for? We are preparing for the restoration of our human dignity and our African identity. We're preparing for sustaining ourselves. What we've seen through this pandemic is that we have some serious work to do when it comes to sustaining ourselves. We are actualizing our selfhood so that we can sustain ourselves. And we're owning our culture. Our culture is always co-opted, watered down, then sold back to us. And we have to stop that. We are owning and developing our community. Look at the beauty of where we are today. And I think the picture of what this place looked like before Imam purchased it is inside. We can't get mad at others when they come and they gentrify our communities if we won't buy our own blocks, right? And we're preparing for readiness to act. If we stay ready, we don't have to get ready, right?
Right.
So protection is defined as the legal or form or measure intended to preserve human liberties and right. It's the action of protecting or preserving our state of being. So what are we protecting? What is Era Woman seeking us to protect? We have to protect our spiritual, moral, and mental health, which is being challenged constantly, every day, every day. social media is challenging our children, their moral, spiritual, and mental health from everything that we can't control what they see, right? We're protecting our physical bodies, which is under stress and duress in this pandemic. We are protecting our right as humans to live in freedom without terror. Terror from police and terror from one another, okay? We're protecting our historic, economic, and cultural knowledge, as well as our historic, economic, and cultural assets, because we have many of them. And we're protecting our agenda. That's why we are here today. We must have our own agenda, and we must articulate and hold fast to that agenda, okay? Because those people who are our allies or say they're our allies, they have short memories. And we have to stay vigilant about our own agendas and not everybody else's agenda so that we move our agenda forward. And what is preservation? That's just the act of keeping us in our original state and keeping us in good condition, keeping something in existence. And so what are we preserving? We're preserving ourselves. We have to preserve our bodies, our families, our communities. COVID-19 is expected to have reversed a 10-year progress made in closing the black-white life expectancy gap. That's insane. So in summary, this A Mother's Prayer Rally is just the beginning of much-needed broad-based engagement for us to advance, prepare, protect, and preserve our communities. Again, it's to meet our vision to have a restored, thriving, self-actualized, and self-determined African-American community empowered and uplifted by African-American women leadership in partnership with African-American men. We have to organize to operationalize this movement and prevent women's erasure and marginalization this time as we move our agenda forward into the future. As a mother, I want to end with this dua. Allah, I ask you to help sustain and protect Arab women, the work and the workers. Please protect all the mother leaders and all those men who stand to protect us. I ask you, Allah, to protect our husbands, our sons, our fathers, our uncles, our nephews, and our brothers. Please protect us all from the unjust and the evil of this world. Ameen. Thank you for being here. Thank you for just being here. That's not easy. It's cold, and we're not used to that. And I know it's raining, and so we really appreciate you all. Again, I'm Tiffany Green Abdullah, co-chair of Arab Woman. And lastly, check out, I have a book coming out in January called The Bean Pie, a remembering of our family's faith, fortitude, and forgiveness. So that'll be out soon. Shukran, and thank you.
All right. So as we are moving forward in our story of now, we have just a few more sisters that we want you all to hear from. Thank you all for all sitting here and being present in this shower, in this mercy that we got today. Thank you all. As we see the sun's coming back again. So at this time, we're going to hear from a sister who has a story to tell. But she is doing right here currently at IMAN Atlanta. She is a lead organizer. Sister Karima Hanifa, let's give it on up for her. I know, it's cold. It's cold, Karima.
Assalamu alaikum. All right, so I've been sitting in the corner thinking, right, that we are at an era of women's prayer rally. So y'all liven up a little bit. I know it's cold. I'm cold too. So this is how we're going to do this, right? Because I just try to bring a different energy to the stage, right? So what I want y'all to do is repeat after me. Y'all ready? I am the change I want to see. I am the change I want to be. I am the change I want to see. I am the change I want to be. All right, give yourselves a hand. Give yourselves a hand. We got to warm up a little bit. Y'all know I can get real creative as a community organizer how we can get warm, but I know nobody don't want to get wet, so I'm not going to do it. But my name is Karima Hanifa, and I am the community organizer here at IMAN Atlanta. So I want to start off by saying, in case you did not know, there are 2.3 million people that are incarcerated in the United States right now, right? And if we pay attention to systemic barriers and racial barriers, then we know that the majority of the people that are incarcerated in the United States are people of brown and black. We know that systemically that people are sentenced, the sentencing is disproportionate. We know that African Americans and Hispanics and poor whites get more time than anybody else in the United States of America. Right? Did you know that in the state of Georgia, a person who is currently on probation or parole does not have the right to register to vote? Not even accidentally. It's a crime. You can be arrested for it. So when we think that slavery is over, nah, they just named it something else. It's called mass incarceration. And I am freezing. I'm not this short. Normally, I'm just very, very cold. But I am here in position as an advocate, one, and with it being the era of a woman, as women, this is our season to step up and become actively involved in social change and the movement. Something that came to mind, and Sister Tiffany said it, but it stands out to me. One, George Floyd called out for his mother. Two, it was a woman who allowed him for us to see those last words, those last moments, right? It was a woman. Anybody else could have been standing behind that phone recording, but it was a woman. That was her position. And as women, we have to step up into our positions and be active, right? Like, yes, the men are here for our muscle. They are supposed to support us. As Muslims, men are our protectors. But as women, we are responsible for the community. We are responsible for the household. Listen, if we came from the rib, right? If we came from the rib, you can't break that rib. You can only bend it. You can bend me, but you can't break me. And because we come from the rib is the hardest bone in the body. It's not like your skull, somebody drop you on it and it just cracked like an egg, right? We talking about the rib. So we know, and scientists now know, that women are the strength. And because this is the era of the women's prayer rally, we understand, right, the strength of prayer. I know that I had a praying grandmother, and I have a praying mother, and I am a praying woman. Yes. And I understand the strength and the protection of prayer. Listen, Shaitan will come when you get in a jam and be like, ain't no need to pray now. But that's because he knows the power of the prayer, right? He knows that the heavens opens up. Right? And also, last but not least, in Islam, we are taught that paradise is at the foot of the mother. Allah would not have sent the revelation that strong if it wasn't something even stronger behind it. Right? When it's asked, who do you honor? The question was asked. The answer kept coming back the same. My mother. Who is first? My mother. Who is first? My mother. The Quran says, reverence the wombs that bore you. It's not always that natural womb, because if you dig a little deeper, it starts talking about your spouse's mother, your mother's mother, the mother of the community, right? So there's just so much importance as us being women, and as an organizer, and as a social advocate, right? Like, I want to give a charge on today. And that charge is, are you the change that you want to see? And on which side of history do you want to be? Do you want to be the person who saw injustice and talked about it? Or do you want to be a person who saw injustice and did something about it? Yes. And it took me 26 years inside of this same system that I'm talking about to come out and decide that I wanted to be a part of the change that I talked about, that I complained about, that I want to be a part of that change. That I want to be on the side of history that did something about it instead of complaining about it. And I greet my sisters with Assalamu alaikum, my brothers too.
Yes, thank you, Karima, for rallying up the crowd. Yes, Karima Hanifa, everybody. All right, well, I actually recently had the honor of meeting this sister that is coming next by way of Karima. She came out and spoke at we have our Grassroots Power Hour that IMAN Atlanta hosts one Thursday out of the month. This sister is Fulton County's commissioner for District 6. And I heard she is the first African-American Muslim woman elected to office here in Atlanta. Sister Khadija Abdul-Rahman.
Thank you, sis. Boy, I tell you something about them almost 60-year-old bones out here in this cold weather. Allahu Akbar. I praise Allah. Assalamu alaikum. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon my dear sisters and brothers. It is an honor for me to speak to you as Fulton County Commissioner Khadija Abdul-Rahman of the mighty 6th District. And I would be remiss if I did not, and I know they're not going to like me to do it because charge it to my head and not my heart. I can't call everybody's name, but I got to say Brother Furqan, Imam Furqan Muhammad, my Imam, my leader, and my other brother over there, brother that I would call on so many times. Brother, I can't even call his name, I'm so cold. But this brother kept a smile on his face. He saw every time, Brother Imam Pleman, Elamine, every time I ran for office and I would run into him, and it was something about that smile. Even if the sister wanted to raise hell, he took it away from me. Because I could just look at that smile. I thank you, Brother Imam, and I thank all of you. But I wanted to especially call both of those brothers because those brothers have been with me on almost every journey of, y'all don't understand, I'm 57 years old. I've been running for office since I was 25 years old. Allah put it upon my heart as a community organizer. Sister Karima, I'm really showing my age now. She was a 14 or 13-year-old when I met her. And now to see her as a community organizer, it just warms my heart. One thing about being a woman who is Muslim, we understand the struggle and we understand a little bit better than most of our counterparts because we walk in a system that looks at us and says, well, sometimes they do, but they kind of do a little different now. They say, oh, poor Muslim sister. Oh, poor Muslim sister that's just being mistreated and everything. They don't understand we are protected. They don't understand we understand the natural order of things. But the beauty of me being the first female Muslim elected to office in the state of Georgia, I would be remiss if I didn't tell you it hadn't been an easy journey. I remember sitting among my brothers and sisters when I first ran for office, and people were taken aback with what I was talking about, and they would say, well, Sister Khadija, I didn't know you were Muslim. And I would tell them the question is, you didn't know that I wasn't. And see, that's what we as Muslim women, the era of women, what we walk with is we walk with a purpose, a light, and a shine that butterflies just come to. And so we have a divine light. In several places I have been, and people will come to me and they will say they are non-Muslim. And they will say, Khadija, we homeschool our children. Khadija, we believe in entrepreneurship. Khadija, we believe in treating people right. We believe in the same thing that you believe in. I say your problem is you look at what is the difference and not what is the same. We must come together with people in our communities, those that understand Allah's purpose. We must come together with them and change this community. I remember being in MPU meetings, and I remember being in community meetings, and people are talking about how we need to do something about the drugs. And I remember being in one meeting, this was years ago, and somebody said, we ought to get them Muslims over here. I know they can do something about the drug problem. And even though individuals laughed about it, it was true, Brother Imam. It was true. Because there's something about that order, that discipline, that understanding that everything that you do is for the pleasure of your Lord. And so when I ran for office over and over again, when I first started running for office, I remember being in conversations, making sure that the Muslims had a seat at the table, at a table that I, as a Muslim woman, wasn't allowed to sit at. And I don't say that to be vindictive. I don't say that other than to say the growth of the community here understands that all voices have to be at the table. But it's something about that Muslim woman, because I am one. When I walk in a room as a Muslim woman, I'm fighting for everyone. I'm not just fighting for the Muslim. I'm fighting for everyone to have their right at the table. That's the difference. So what I say to you today, I am honored to be here. I will continue to work on behalf of this community. I love what Iman has done with this. This was a drug-infested unit here. Y'all don't understand. I was raised in this community. I know how beautiful Martin Luther King is from one end to the other. And if we have to buy it up block by block, that's what we must do. I got to tell you, because some of us don't understand. Ain't no savior coming to get us. Let me say that one more time. It's not a savior coming to get us. We got to save ourselves. We've got to save ourselves. So what I say to my sisters today, I am so proud of you, because it is not easy to organize. It's not easy to get people to come out, and it's surely not easy on a day it's rainy and cold. But I want you to know that you have in your midst a Muslim elected official that won by 6,000 votes, and those votes weren't all Muslim. I want y'all to understand. Allah is moving, God is moving his purpose in this community. Individuals that I represent see what we represent as a community, and that is a word to the right. We've got to embrace those that might not understand us, but it's on us to teach them. I remember my beloved Imam Furqan right there. He told me years ago, he said, Sister Khadija, when somebody's sitting in the dark, you don't fling the door open all the way quickly, because they're going to shun the light. He says, what you do, you just creak that door open little by little by little, so they will understand you. So what I'm saying is, what we are doing here is great. My sisters, you all are organizing. Let us embrace the outer community and let them know what we stand for, which is change. A society will be determined by their women. We know that. There goes the women, there goes society. So there is incumbent on the sisters, it's incumbent on the mothers, it is incumbent on us to do what we need to do to show the way. The brothers are protecting us, and they plowing that way for us, and they understand. My name is Khadija Abdul Rahman. I tell people when they say, your name's Khadija, they want to say Queen Latifah, and I no hateration on Queen Latifah. But I said, no, the prophet, peace and blessings upon him, his wife. And when I began to explain to them that she was charitable, she was respected in the community, her words were gold, that I must live my life if I carry the name Khadija and try to be an example of that. And so I say that to say this to you. Let's continue to be that example, sister. Let's continue to love each other and love the community and make the change that we want to see. Assalamu alaikum. Sister Wafia, I love you. I just now seeing you.
All right, thank you so much, Commissioner Khadija Abdul Rahman. Okay, so we are now moving into our future as we are coming to a conclusion of this program today. And I'm feeling the power in this room, the leadership in this space, rather, outside in this space. And now we have a sister coming up who is running for City Council for District 4, and that is Kim Scott. Welcome, Kim Scott.
I just wanted to do another little introduction on Kim Scott because she is my big sister. I met her at Vanderbilt University. And she was, I think I met you first when we were living in the same dorm. And I remember her and her best friend Latrice, they invited me to Freaknik, how we say it, in like 94. And so she's been my good friend, my sister for a long time. And this is her second run at City Council, but we know if any of y'all, who all live in Atlanta? Who all voted? Okay, so I didn't hear the same, yeah. So, Tuesday is the day to vote. So if you all live in Atlanta, you should be voting for Kim Scott for District 4, okay? She is a long-time, forever resident of Atlanta. She used to be the chairperson of the MPU, okay? She's a major community organizer, a real estate developer. So I'm gonna let Kim come up, but I just wanted to say a few words of love for my sister, Kim Scott.
All right, I am inspired like never before to be the change that we want to be. So again, my name is Kim Scott, and I am a candidate for Atlanta City Council District 4. And for those that don't know, District 4 includes downtown Atlanta and South Downtown, and several neighborhoods, 15 neighborhoods as a matter of fact, south and west of Interstate 20, which includes West End. So I'm a resident of West End and have been for 11 years now. So one of the reasons why I bought my house was because I came for West End Tour Homes, believe it or not. I'm an engineer by trade. I used to work for the city of Atlanta. And one of my colleagues said, hey, I also live in the city of Atlanta, very intentional about live, work, play. And he said, we're having a tour of homes. I want you to come. And so I came. And one thing that I noticed was the Muslim men patrolling my neighborhood. And I said, wow, okay, I'm a Christian woman. But when I tell you that struck a nerve with me, because one thing that I know is that I grew up in the city of Atlanta. I grew up in Kaya Heights neighborhood, which was a neighborhood that was developed for us, by us, historically in 1948. And one of the things that really just kind of penetrated in me was to see that presence and that black male presence in my neighborhood. I put a contract on the house that same day. And one of the things that I've continued to do was be involved in the community, because community raised me. Community is what I really stand for. And when we talk about advancing our community, when we talk about building generational wealth in our community, we need representation on the local level, on the state level, and the federal level that has that in mind. What do we want Atlanta to look like? What do we want the state of Georgia to look like? What do we want these United States of America to look like? And we need people in office that have our heart, that will make sure that we have housing. Housing not only that is affordable, but there are diverse types of housing. housing that can be adaptive resource or reused and rehoused for not only our people, but for the people to come. Right now, I work in real estate. And one of the things that I've noticed that continue to come up is multi-generational real estate. Have we lost our way? We're having to now make sure that our mothers and our fathers, our grandparents, grandchildren, nieces and nephews, siblings all have a place to stay. Can we afford for them to come and stay with us? If life changed, if there were experiences that changed for them and now we had to take them in, do we have the generational wealth to be able to expand our housing to do so? And I would say that most people right now in this state, making the money that they're making, cannot. And so I am running because I believe that I am that positive change. You're my neighbor. The Inner City Muslim Network is right in Westview neighborhood. Westview is one of the neighborhoods in Atlanta's District 4. Arthur has also been a community partner, but also a neighbor. And I want to make sure that we have that affordable housing that's diverse, but that's also stable, so that our legacy residents won't have to move, they won't have to be displaced, but also we're preparing for future growth and development. That we're building a workforce that's ready for 21st century jobs. Right now, we have youth and young adults. I graduated from the outstanding Frederick Douglass High School. Of over 400 kids at that time and $10 million of academic scholarships. Right now, we're graduating kids less than 100 in a population that can house and educate over 2,000 kids right here in Northwest Atlanta at Frederick Douglass High School. Have we lost our way? So what does that mean? Our families are not living in the zones where we are educating our kids. Can they afford to live there is the question. So we need to make sure that we have workforce housing incentives so we can live where we work and play. We also, in building our workforce, we want to make sure that we also have not only places for us to live, work, and play, not only that we have salaries, workforce salaries, but we're building businesses. We have contract opportunities for us to have and build generational wealth. And so I am so grateful for my community today. Like I said, I am a Christian woman, but when I look out in my neighborhood, it's about everybody. It's about our community as a whole. And I want to make sure that we are in a place where we are successful, because opportunity breeds success for all of us. And right now, West End, Atlanta's District 4, where at one time the city of Atlanta was 61% black, now we're at 46% black in the last 20 years. So we've lost residents in the city of Atlanta, and that's to various things. But we want to make sure that city of Atlanta is a place where we can live, work, and play and thrive and be successful like we did back in the 80s and the 90s. So again, my name is Kim Scott. I am your West End resident, but also I am our candidate for Atlanta City Council District 4. And I look forward to serving us on a greater level. And to Asila, as well as Tiffany, to Tariq, thank you so much for your friendship. And I love you all. You are my sister and my brother. And thank you again for the opportunity to speak today.
Okay, so thank you so much, Kim. And as we are now in the future, we want to hear from the future. So I'm going to call up 3 young sisters for you all to all come up together. Because you all will be closing us out as far as our era of woman speakers. And yeah, so at this time I'm going to call up Jada Ahmed, Sister Sabbath Muhammad, and Sister Faja Delane. Yes, come on up. We're going to hear from our young sisters, the future. Where are we going?
Assalamu alaikum. peace be upon you. Woo, bear with me, y'all, it's cold. I just want to say I'm truly grateful today to be here. This whole rally has been inspiring, and I've just been over there just thinking and just bringing it all in. So I'm truly grateful to also speak on the behalf of the future of our young women leaders. It is so important as we as African American women must encourage and empower each other to be leaders and to also have a sense of self. Following what off of Tiffany had quoted from Imam Warsadin Muhammad earlier, I wanted to continue on that quote. Imam Warsadin Muhammad, the Muslim American spokesperson for human salvation, may God's mercy be on him and forgive him his sins and grant him a place in paradise. He quoted in one of his lectures, "A woman's identity is her basic nature, motherhood. She does not have to birth a child to come into motherhood. A woman's unique nature creates her motherhood. Mother as a social role is a leadership role for which physical motherhood is a symbol. Motherhood is not only the ability and capacity of giving birth, but it also means, in addition, having the responsibility and authority of a mother to look after and care for as life as mother does." This quote meant so dearly to me because as an evolving community leader and as a woman, it understood to me that all of us have, as women, we have that motherly quality in us. And with that being said, as women, it is a part of our nature to be concerned for the health and welfare for all human life, the home life, the community, and the nation. So we have a responsibility to our community to make sure things are fundamentally in order to have a good life. So with that being said, also, that's why today I am an active community leader in the community so that I can continue to establish community life now and for the future generation to come. And as a woman, we should all value ourselves and have God consciousness in everything that we do. Because honestly, we are living in a time where in society where they're constantly destroying our womanly nature. And so it's time for us to call on each other to reestablish and restore women to their rightful and justified role of leadership in our society. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, I'm gonna do this one more time. Assalamu alaikum. Please excuse my mask. You know, when you have bronchitis, you don't take no chances, okay? So just, my spirit's gonna come through me if that's okay. So firstly, I would like to start, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I bear witness to the one God, the sender of all the prophets. He gave us Abraham. He gave us Moses. He gave us Jesus. And he gave us Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon them. As well as some prophets who are not named, so says the Holy Quran, right? He goes by many names: Jehovah, Yahweh. However, the best name takes on the meaning all in all, encompassing all of those great names into one. So we call him Allah in the Arabic language. Allahu Akbar. So firstly, before I begin, I would like to thank my Sister Angel, for the recommendation to Sister Jada and Sister Tiffany for this opportunity to speak to the women of God this afternoon. I would like to further thank Southern Regional MGT and GCC Captain of the Women and Girls in the Southern Region, Sister Nusayba Muhammad, and Student Minister Abdul Sharif Muhammad, the Southern Regional Representative of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, for the approval of me representing to you this afternoon. And lastly, but certainly not least, I would like to thank the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the national representative of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the great preacher of freedom, justice, and equality. So the topic, and I called Sister Jada, and I was like, what's the topic? What are we speaking on? The topic, and it made me smile, you know. She told me we're featuring motherhood, leadership, the value of woman, which is what I'm going to be focusing on today, and the era of woman. And it made me smile because as a generation, when we think of the era of woman, you know, and when women started to rise, we look at that as if it's a timeline, whereas it had a beginning maybe a decade ago, a few decades ago, a century ago, right? We put it on a timeline. Where in reality, the leadership of woman was here since the beginning, as soon as Allah made him second self of God, right? So the critical role, there's a quote from one of our student ministers, Sister Ava Muhammad, who I must say, you know, she had cancer, one of the ministers in the Nation of Islam. She is the national spokesperson for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And when she got the knowledge of Islam through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and she practiced those words, she had only a few months to live. I need y'all to understand something, right? And when she practiced those words and put them into practice, her cancer was free. She is now, this is a couple decades later, now a living, walking example of the strength of women in Islam today. Y'all can give that a hand. Y'all know if I got free of cancer, I want the hand too, okay? So she quotes, the critical role of the woman, you know, all the prophets and messengers are said so beautifully before me. And let me go ahead and stop. Please give all the speakers before me a round of applause. Wow, I'm loving the energy of this program. So all the prophets and messengers had mothers. Is that right? Yeah. Is that right? Every man of God had a mother. Is that right? Yes. Our thoughts, our brains, our first spiritual teaching comes from mother, the second self of God. Jesus had a mother. Abraham had a mother. Malcolm X had a mother. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad had a mother. The very actions for us today to be able to say, okay, let me take this turn because mama said so, right? Right? let me eat this when I'm sick because mama told me, right? Mama said so. So our thoughts, our brain, and our first spiritual teaching comes from the mother. The Holy Quran so exhausts the woman. There's a myth and falsehood that, you know, the Muslims don't believe in Jesus. Have y'all heard that? Has anybody said, oh, do you believe in Jesus? I've heard it 1,000 times, trust me. There's a myth and falsehood that the Muslims do not believe in Jesus. However, we have a surah or chapter in the Holy Quran named what? Maryam, named after the mother of Jesus, whom he was created and fashioned in the womb of, right? So, I'm quoting the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, where women are hurled down. I want y'all to listen to this. Men can never be lifted up. So the destiny of the individual, the destiny of the nation depends on the mother. The woman, true, to her feminine nature, listen to this, this is a man saying this, so I want y'all to listen really closely. And in Islam, we don't believe in sexism. So I want y'all to listen really closely. The woman, true to her feminine nature, is really advanced over the man. Not because of her beauty, not because of her accomplishments, or even the nature of her love, but because she possesses the womb, the laboratory, where in our fashion, those who will inhabit the world, she cooperates with and is an assistant to Allah, God. Praise, mashallah, Allahu Akbar. Let me start out. There is no reformation without the reform of a woman. She has to be able to tell, baby, like, as my sister Karima and sister, I believe the sister was named Jalila, that gave the poem, please forgive me. Latifa, yes. That touched me so much because it is in a woman's mind where she puts the care of the world or the care of God into the child, right? So there's no reformation without the reform of a woman. Lastly, as I get ready to close, the Holy Quran reads, He creates you in the wombs of your mother. Allah talking now. He creates you in the wombs of your mother. End quote. That's where we're all created. All human life is created by Allah in the womb of the female. The only being that ever in the history of the universe came into existence without coming into the womb of a female is the self-created God who created himself in and from the triple darkness of space. Every human being, every mindset, every thought, every reason that we have, and I think I heard one of my sisters say, it is through the thought of a woman that liberation is born. Because that child is an answer to some woman's prayer out there, right? So the originator of the heavens and the earth, after her came everybody else. So I'll close with this. Woman, sister, whether we have a career or whether we're an at-home mom full-time, we are a leader. I don't think y'all heard me. Whether we have a career, whether we are out fighting on the front line or out fighting in that child's bedroom, reading him a story before he goes to bed, we are a leader. All praise is due to Allah. So never undermine the power of our thoughts. Never undermine the power of our action. So as sis said, my little sons are over here. We put so much into our children. And as a teacher, I strive to put so much into my students because I tell them, when I'm teaching, I'm mama now. So you can go back to but while you're in my care, I'm mama. Because now it is my duty, if you are feeling wrong, to say something of substance so you can go back into this wicked world and stand strong. So, woman, never undermine our brain, never undermine our character, never undermine our actions, never undermine our thoughts. And by this grace of Allah, God, subhanahu wa ta'ala, we will be victorious. I leave you as I came in the greeting words of peace. We say in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. All right, so on the last one for the future. So thank you guys so much for having me. Can you guys all hear me okay? Okay, cool. Just want to make sure everybody can hear me. Well, assalamu alaikum. My name is Fajr Malika Delane. I'm a proud member of this Muslim community, and I'm just so honored to be here. My lovely sis Jada also as well, called me up and had a beautiful talk. So I've been all over the place, so I'm back in Georgia for the moment, so I'm so blessed to be here.
So let's get into it. We as women have been setting the bar for years now. We are the foundation of our children, families, and society. We are the first teachers to this new creation. We define who we are and what we do. Malcolm X said, learn to see, listen, and think for yourself. That's what we're striving and doing as a Black Muslim community and new era of women. Whether it's Hagar running between the hills of Safa and Marwa, a big takeaway from that is the story in her trusting Allah while taking action by moving, which then allowed the miracle of the Zamzam water to then appear. The process in life cannot be understood by stopping it. We must learn how to move with the flow of the process. We must join in it and flow with it. The mystery of life isn't just a problem to solve, but a reality to experience, said this guy named Frank that I just watched from the Dunn movie, which was really good. Khadija, peace and blessings be upon her, was an esteemed businesswoman. Khadija inherited her father's skills in a time in history where society was male-dominated and dangerous for the trade. She then took over the business after his passing. Her business was larger than all of the Quraysh at the time, trades combined, and most acclaimed with the reputation of fair dealing and high-quality goods. It was said that she was a keen eye. She had a keen eye and was highly intuitive, earning the names of the Princess of the Quraysh and the Pure One. She was a woman of capabilities and power in herself. She knew that she was doing business wise, and she never compromised her modesty or integrity to succeed in a male-dominated trade. Khadija was also an amazing wife, mother of her children. We have so many great examples in our Islamic legacy and heritage. Aisha also was known as a scholar and a great wife and companion to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We have to also change how we define our success. Realign our measuring stick with our Creator and not the world. That's how we know that we are moving with purpose and our functionality. Because when that's in an alignment, then you will be able to flow through this world with peace and determination. We should be striving to figure out what our passions are and cultivating it with our livelihood. We have our responsibilities with Allah first, ourselves, family, then community. Our spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional health is so important for us to optimize ourselves. We have different seasons in life. We can take the signs we see in Allah's creation with the weather, fall, winter, spring, and summer. As women, we experience different seasons. There's a time when we existed before we came to earth. Then we were in the wombs of our mothers. Then there was a time for us to be daughters, sisters. There's a time to be a student, getting our education. There's a time to experience adventures in life. There's a time for a career. There's a time for being a companion in a marriage as a wife. There's a time for motherhood. There's a time after the essential years of motherhood to still discover what keeps you alive and makes you glow and grow. Sometimes these seasons intertwine with each other, and sometimes these seasons are experienced one at a time. All in all, be patient with the process. Enjoy the present and prepare for the future by giving the best you can each and every day. By a blurb said by Marianne Williamson, our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. And lastly, I want to end you guys off with a poem that I made a couple years back. and that is the poem called Who Am I? I am of the righteous culture because I am considered unknown by many. I am Khadijah, who stood right in Islam. I am Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who set a great example. I am Harriet Tubman, who trusted Allah despite all odds. I am Marcus Garvey, who wakes up the mind of the mindless. I am Muhammad Ali, who fought for his people. I am Malcolm X, who was brave. I am Dawood, who went after what he believed. I am Miriam, who started to understand she was not meant to be understood. I am Samaya, who died for Allah. I am Hagar, who ran with hope. I am Bob Marley, whose aspiration for this world is one love. I am Martin Luther King, who taught the ignorant human equality. I am Rosa Parks, who stood up for justice. I am Aisha, who did the extra mile. I am Kobe, who works for what he believes and is not always appreciated. I am Michael Jordan, with an amazing work ethic and made history. I am Michael Jackson, who pursued the unthinkable. I am Kunta Kinte, who was strong and led the way for many. Who am I? I am of the righteous culture that is mainly misunderstood. Who am I? I am a Howard University graduate ready to change the world. Who am I? I am Fajr Malika Delane. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for our future. All right, at this time, I would like to call up, as we've already heard his name mentioned several times throughout this program, who is, when we talk about a leader in the community, and particularly in an area of interfaith here in Atlanta, civically engaged, and just a giant in our midst. He has graciously come to close us out, and just in sharing some words of affirmation, as he told me beforehand, like, all right, you know, if my male voice is going to be too much at the end of all this greatness we've heard amongst the women, but I told him, no, we want to hear from you, and we want to hear from our men, our brothers, our husbands. It is important in having you here. So it is my honor to introduce and invite up to the podium, Imam Pleman Elamin.
All right, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu Muhammadan abdu rasuluhu, alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. So as we've been hearing some powerful, powerful voices and minds and intellects, and it just has done my heart good as well as my mind and my spirit. Allah, the Most High, says in the Quran, never will I allow the work of any of you to be lost, be you male or female. And Allah further says, by no means shall you attain righteousness until you give freely of that which you love, and whatever you give, God knows it well. So I want to just say a word or two about love, and then I want to move on to a closing prayer. The prophet, prayers and peace be upon him, said, by the one in whose hand is my soul, you will not enter paradise until you believe, and you will not believe until you love one another. And he said, shall I tell you something which if you do, you will love one another, will cause you to love one another? He said, spread the greetings of peace among yourselves. Christ Jesus said there are two commandments that everything else hangs on. Love God with all of your heart and soul and mind, and love your neighbor as you love yourself. So I just, this is what Imam was thinking about when they opened this facility up and restored it and everything. Imam knew that we were going to have the neighbors, and that this was an act of love, not just for those people coming out of incarceration, but also for this neighborhood and this community And so we're on Martin Luther King Drive, and this is the neighborhood I grew up in, and I still live in this neighborhood. I live in the Collier Heights part now, but I grew up right up under Washington High. And this street means a lot to many of us, being named Martin Luther King Drive. And Dr. King said, love is a potent instrument for social and collective transformation. So I'm using this love because it distinguishes, women understand love quite more deeply than men do. And this is where, I mean, just asking me to come up after this, if this had been the era of the man, we wouldn't have invited a woman to come up and close us out. So it shows a different perspective that women have innately. Dr. King said, love is a transferring power that can lift the whole community to new horizons of fair play, goodwill, and justice. He said, love and power are not opposites. So think of this, because we generally think of love with the women and power with the men, but love and power are not opposites, just like men and women are not really opposites. Power without love is reckless and abusive. Love without power is sentimental and anemic. If you separate them, you'll end up with either immoral power or powerless morality. So I pray, well, let me say this before I offer this prayer. Especially for our community, our Muslim community, that we've been now 13 years without Imam Warsadin Muhammad, and people wonder, well, when are we going to get it together? And even if beyond that, if you look in the Muslim world, where women have been oppressed, and you try to figure out what Muslim country do I really want to live in, and you see, because we've oppressed women, there's not a lot of progress in most of these Muslim countries. You can't progress oppressing not only 50% of the population, but the part of the population that inherently and innately understands compassion and love and wanting for others as they want for themselves. And so with our community, Imam Muhammad said, before he passed, he said, don't live in the past robbing graves. And that's our challenge. As men, as leaders of our community, we live robbing graves. He said, remember the past, but promise the present that you're going to build on the past to produce a better future. And I say that women in our community, Muslim women and women in general, they understand that. They understand that, and they live upon that, that it just can't be locked into the past. They have to learn from the past and invest in presently for a better future. So I say, may your love, dear sisters, dear women, may your love grow even more rich in knowledge, in insight, in vitality, and may you be covered with the harvest of righteousness and blessings from Almighty God. Let us pray. Oh Allah, we ask that you lead us from fear to trust, from despair to hope, from apathy to engagement, from hate to faith, from death to life. We pray that each of us leaves this sacred place and this sacred space more thoughtful, more caring, more grateful, more committed to justice, more committed to truth, more committed to decency, more committed to righteousness, and more committed to the powers of womanhood, justice, truth, decency, and righteousness. Let us accept the obligation to protect one another, to protect our homes and our neighborhoods, our city, and these sacred spaces. Oh Allah, we ask that you continue to expand the hearts of each of those present and those who are absent. Continue to enlighten our minds, broaden our righteous involvements, strengthen our faith, increase our good works, deepen our sense of obligation, and engage the souls of these sisters, these mothers, these loved ones, as well as our men as well. Bless each of them and each of us to be a fresh new energy in the landscape of Atlanta, of America, and of the world, enjoining what is right, rejecting what is wrong, and not fearing the criticisms of the criticizers. O Allah, guide them and guide us among those whom you have guided. Preserve them and preserve us among them who you have preserved. Befriend us and befriend them among those you have befriended. And bless these young women, bless these sisters, bless their families, bless their communities, bless this world. To you belong the power, to you belong the sovereignty, to you belong the praise. O Allah, we ask that you guide us, help us to care more than others think is wise, to risk more than others think is safe, to expect more than others think is possible, and to pray more than others think is practical. O Allah, we pray that our entry was by the gate of truth and honor, and now make our exit by the gate of truth and honor, and give each of us and all of us the strength and fortitude to serve you and you alone. Ameen. We pray Allah blesses us, and we see ourselves as being strong supporters, as men, strong supporters of this era of women, and it always has been the era of women. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much, Imam Pleeman, for closing us out in that prayer. At this time, as we've heard a lot today, and I'm sure have gone through a wave of emotions, we want to bring our hearts back to center and just do a little, like I said, self-care as we move out through the rest of our day and weekend and into the world, into life. So at this time, we're going to have a grounding and healing session that is going to be done by Najla Sharif, who is a licensed spiritual coach and a motivational speaker and educator. And she is being joined by Neo Mirage, who is founder of a wellness company, Moto, home of the Zen Zulu Tea Company. She's a light worker, neuromuscular therapist, and a sound therapist and alchemist, which she will be doing her sound baths, sound bowls, and healing through that. So if you could please just stay with us right now for this final grounding session, and then we'll be closing out with a musical note from a young sister that's going to send us out into the world, hopefully with blue skies and brighter days as well. So at this time, Najla Sharif and Neo Mirage. As they're making their way up, I would like to thank all of our partners, the Inner City Muslim Action Network, the International Museum of Muslim Cultures, the City of Atlanta and their Elevate Public Arts Festival. Also to AIB, our media partner, who's been here streaming live for us the entire time. Thank you. I want to name a few people by name, as far as from our era of woman coordinating group. You've heard from myself and Tiffany Green Abdullah, my mother Okolo Rashid, sister Aisha K. Mustafa, Jada Ahmed, sister Amita Abdullah, sister Savannah Willis, who's not able to be here with us presently today. She's in Mississippi.
And we've had so many more that have joined us. So thank you to everyone and all of our speakers that you've heard from thus far. And we're calling for you all to all join us in this era of woman. Join us in this effort, in this call to action to get involved, to preserve, to protect, to prepare, to advance the African American community. I mean.
I greet you with the greetings of peace and love. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Najla Sharif. I am a licensed spiritual coach. I am working with my sister, Nail Mirage, who is a neuromuscular therapist and sound therapist. We just would like to ground everyone and unite everyone. I was going to speak a little bit on the mother's role as healer and the importance and significance, critical significance of maintaining balance, which is the essence of beauty is balance. So as women, as healers, we take on a lot. And even though we are the descendants of Harriet Tubman and Mary McLeod Bethune and Sister Okolo, my own mother, Sabrine Sharif, we also, it's important that we maintain what Shahida Sharif called as soul care. So we have to have balance. So we would like to just ground everyone and unite everyone and kind of also have a release because it's important as we take on a lot of things that we also release things. That's, like I said, that's the essence of balance. So a lot of people are familiar with meditating and, as we all know, praying and, you know, grounding yourself through nature. But we would like to introduce another way to heal spiritually that a lot of people are not as familiar with, and just kind of bring attention to it as a practice that you can use to sometimes just kind of bring yourself in and ground yourself. And sometimes when you're feeling the weight as a healer, which many of us can, when naturally as a healer, people that need healing gravitate towards you, and sometimes you can pour out more than you actually will pour back into yourself. So this is a way for you to connect stronger with spirit, with the Most High, but also to connect stronger with the spirit within, to strengthen yourself. So sound therapy has existed since the beginning of time. But the significance of sound therapy, so the body is made up of 70% of water, as we all know, and it's a great conductor for sound vibration. So through sound vibration, it promotes circulation and energy and rejuvenation in the body. It's known to lower stress levels, lower mood swings, lower blood pressure, lower cholesterol, and improve sleep. So specifically, our sister Nail is going to use a gong and sound bowls today for a sound bath. So this is something that, like I said, it connects us all. So as you listen, as you tune in, you can close your eyes. You can hold the hand of someone next to you. You can to become more present, because we have a lot of outside influences right now. The sound of the expressway, you know, the cold. So this is actually a good way to teach us how to go within and still become fully present, even though that we have lots of things going on around us. So if you want to focus on the feeling of your feet in your shoes, if you want to specifically focus on a beautiful feeling inside your body, or connecting with your body, how do you feel in your body, and just kind of bring yourself in, then we'll enjoy this demonstration by Nail Mirage. Take a deep breath in as you connect with your body. So as we become back present, we bring ourselves back to the present. As I said, this is just a practice. It's one of many. Different people meditate, sometimes grounding yourself in nature. Anything that connects you to a happy place and a place where you can totally become present and also sometimes escape from the busyness, the incessant rambling of the mind. This is something that just draws you in. So we just wanted to bring that into focus as a part of healing, as mothers, as women, as people in general, because women and men are healers. Healing it comes from the God within us. So we all have the God within us. So it's important that we all maintain practices to keep balance. I also just wanted to bring a focus to entrepreneurship as women as well. That's something that hasn't been discussed as much for us to support women in business. So Nail and I are both entrepreneurs. She has a sanctuary that's right across the street from the West End Mall where she practices her neuromuscular therapy as well as sound therapy. I am a spiritual coach. I have Mind Your Diamonds, which you can find the practices, the services that I provide at Mine, M-I-N-E, yourdiamonds.com. The focus is that us as women, we are valuable, the most valuable that are produced under intense pressure as diamonds are. So that's where the concept comes from. And I also just wanted to highlight a sister, girlfriend of mine who also is an entrepreneur. If anyone needs notary services, there is for businesses, there is a certified notary in the audience, Tanya John. And then there's also a sister, Jackie, who's having an event next Saturday for sisters only from November 6th in downtown Norcross. That is from 12 to 5. And it also promotes energy healing and a special treat for women for maintaining relationships. So I just wanted to point out supporting small businesses and women entrepreneurs as well. Thank you all for your attention, and assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. So our final person up today will be Ms. Taylor Nixon, and she's a soon-to-be graduate of Georgia State University. And I met her a month or so ago. She's in a program that I started when I was there called Digital Learners to Leaders. And she told me about her performance skills, and I saw her YouTube and her Instagram. She just dropped an EP, I think 2 days ago. So you can find her at Taylor Nixon all over the interwebs and all of have her come up to perform her song, Blue Skies, Sunny Days. We could use more of that today, but she'll leave us, energized. Here, they're gonna clear some of the stuff.
Hello. It is a pleasure to be able to close out this event with you all today. I want to ask everybody to stand up. Go ahead and get up out of your seats. We're going to move close, come close to the stage. I want to make sure everybody can see. After all of the speakers that have come before me, so. All right, y'all, so we want to lift up all of our fallen angels. And although it's cloudy today, we want to know that this is going to be blue skies and sunny days. All right? So when I ask y'all to put y'all's pinky in the air, we're going to put our pinkies in the air for the fallen angels, okay? Yeah. Yeah. Look. Yeah. Couldn't get the words. I guess I'm stumbling. Cause it's a topic that then left me in my thoughts, trying to figure what it costs. If I tell it like it is, I mean, we moved on. Yet the scar got a scab. Yet we shed a couple laughs, and I don't know. I hand you the proto, typed to every word I felt coming. Had to get it off my chest. It was one end. Why I always suffer? Is God trying to make me a little tougher? Ever been straight pedaling? Cause they can't depend on what you say. Make it appear like something it wasn't. Money falls out, we shouldn't. But if we ain't got nothing, is it different? The loyalty is focusing on living, and I get that. But never say what's life without you. And never say I can't fight without you. If that's the truth to how you really feel, tell me now. The thing is, nobody's really real. Not a sound. Yeah, I said it's put the pinkies up. We're gonna wave them like this. Yeah. Yeah, I said it's always better times. Blue skies and sunny days. You can't see it right now, but it's coming. It's coming for sure. Yeah. I said it's always better times. Blue skies and sunny days. Look. And truth is, if I treated you with the same treatment that you gave me, feelings of how you hate me, feelings of getting you back and never forgiving, I'll never be willing. That's what I told myself. And self just wanna de-strap. I'm sleeping in a T-tuck position. You ponder why I see sunk from fishing in your cleaned up renditions of a fatal self. Mine so navel fell, watching while you played yourself. Cause I'm a good person. We see who's really hurting. This make my job tougher, keeping composure when I know that I can out-tougher, out-buffer. If you can outnumber anything, I out-stutter. Cause what I speak is real, leaking like a cheap pavil. Anytime you rain on my parade, no, it's always better times, blue skies and sunny days. No, it's always better times, blue skies and sunny days. No, it's always better times, blue skies and sunny days. This side over here, I want y'all to put your pinkies up. Blue, yeah, yeah. This side over here, yeah. Yeah, all together now. Look. Blue skies, sunny days. Yeah, I said it's always better times. Blue skies and sunny days. I want y'all to take that with y'all wherever y'all go. My name is Taylor Nixon. You can find me anywhere on all social media platforms at I am Taylor Nixon or TaylorNixonMusic.com. It's been a complete, absolute pleasure. Miss Tiffany, thank you for having me. Appreciate you.
Yeah, let's give it up for Taylor Nixon! Woo! Just want to close us on out officially. We've had like 3 closings. Thank you all for coming out to this first ever Mother's Prayer Rally. We are looking to take this nationally. We want a Mother's Prayer Rally to pop up in every city across America. Join us, join the era of woman in this movement. I bid you adieu with the words, Assalamu alaikum. I want to thank also particularly my husband, Adrian Asim. He's been holding it down here for this amazing videographer and photographer. My sons for being here and being present through the whole thing with mommy. That's righteous, noble, scholar. And I want to thank my parents for being here. You heard from my mother, Okolo Rashid, but my father, Sababu Rashid, has been holding it down right there. And we can't be here as these amazing women that you're seeing without that leadership, that protection from my father. So I wanted to thank them. Alhamdulillah, may everybody get back home safely. Thank you for being out here in this cold, rainy weather, but you all stayed all the way to the end. So give it up for yourselves for all being present for this moment. All right, have a good one. Shout out to our IMAN Atlanta team, Solani, holding down on all types of things. Shout out to Eli Lakes. I also want to shout out all of our volunteers, Fatima Ali, who held down the welcome table. Once again, AIB, John, Lucas, Ashton. Yes, thank you all for being here and recording this moment. Thank you to all our speakers, all our performers. Good afternoon.